sound really nice at the time. You know, some guy wrote a book called My Struggle, which was a bestseller in the 30s, I think. That had some kind of lofty ideas that a lot of people found interesting and compelling. But ultimately, these ideas just lead to totalitarianism and misery.
Right.
In the end. So I'm just always a little bit dubious anytime somebody tries to be a great man. If you've ever read the book Crime and Punishment, there's a guy named Raskolnikov who thinks that he has what it takes to be a truly great man like Napoleon. He just needs to go murder this woman who has all the money that he needs, and he'll be on his way to do it.
It's a solid plan.
It's a solid plan. Yeah, it's a solid plan. What could go wrong? But now switching to Zen, I think Jack has some very amazing, lofty ideals about how he wants to change the world.
Right.
And I think he's willing to do all sorts of interesting things in order to do it. Such as launch, a coin that goes down forever and kind of creates a bunch of fees on various chains. And this is part of creating his movement. And then he's been creating a bunch of shit coins, which I guess he thinks is adding to his movement.
I will say it's a tad. I'm a shitcoiner, and it's a tad hard to keep up. It is
a bit hard to keep up. And I'm not a shitcoiner, but yeah, I guess what can you say about any of that? I mean, on the one hand, it would be awful, except it's in the name of this really noble cause, which is what is it called, Dylan? Fair crypto? Is that the thing? And yeah, so kind of like the Hegelian dialectic, Jack prophesizes that we're going to reach the end of history, and it's going to be this beautiful, perfect, harmonious fair crypto thing called X1, which I really hope will exist someday. But I've heard Russian guys before say that they're going to take us to a workers' paradise. We just have to, kill a few million people first, and
Welcome back to the channel, guys. I hope the sound's coming through okay. Looks like it's been a troublesome week getting videos out, right? Some days are like that. Some days are like that. So interesting video today. We're talking about Jack Levin being compared to Stalin. Actually, it seems he gets compared to Hitler as well. But the fact that Jack is Russian, I think that through the video they speak a lot about the Russian Revolution and communism and socialism and so on. And so it seemed that he referenced these Russian megalomaniacs as such in comparison to Jack Levin, which is quite interesting. Now, the video comes from the Dollar Cost Crypto channel, and the host of the channel, he seems to make his way around the red pill community a lot. I see him on Fresh and Fit quite a bit. He's a big post-community supporter. And he kind of looks like he sells these courses and things like that. And, red flags go up. I'm not saying that educational courses necessarily mean that people are doing something wrong. But the thing is, it's just been such a red flag in cryptocurrency. Not only the selling of the courses, but margin trading, right? These are things Richard Hart even warned about. But unfortunately, on post-chain, you now have the development of margin trading in trading, these very negative things that once upon a time Richard Hart didn't think was a good idea. But in Richard Hart's defense, as the community's putting these things together, one can assume he doesn't necessarily have anything to do with it. Anyway, I find it kind of strange that anytime people want to create good projects, right? The first inclination is it has to be some nefarious activity behind it, right? Um, and so, uh, that's what the direction of their commentary seemed to be going right now. I don't know. I can't read Jack Levin's mind. I don't know it all together. I can say out of all the cryptocurrency projects, pretty much that have existed, like 99.9% of them have been total crap. And Jack Levin's project, even though I have my problems with it, right? In the video, he goes into a detail calling, Zen a gimmick, calling, all the crap coins that Jack Levin's created since then. He's almost like he's just a grifter, using the idea to exploit people, right? And we're never going to know that until the end, right? We can only go against the dynamics of the projects and the parameters of the projects to certain degrees. And Zen crypto, even as they agreed in the video, right? At the core of it, it's a very good idea, right? Like I said, the Bitcoin NYK project, these are difficult projects to put together, especially when you're experimenting with creating economic systems that work for the majority of people. Our economic systems have been set up to exploit people, and it would seem as long as they're doing that, whether people are in cryptocurrency or in the traditional economy, as long as there's a way to exploit people, people are happy with those systems, even if they work against their own best interests, right? And that's very sad. It's very sad. But I would also, remind these gentlemen that the comparison of the crypto economy to the standard economy isn't exactly the same, right? There are certain things that go on in the crypto economy that wouldn't work in the standard economy for many reasons, for many economic, systemic reasons, right? Well, for example, if you take something like airdrops that get distributed around free all the time through cryptocurrency, right? Airdrop, airdrop, airdrop. That probably wouldn't work in the standard economy. It probably wouldn't work for products, services, and businesses to constantly just be giving away value as such, right? But it works in cryptocurrency, right? And so cryptocurrency is a way to experiment, to go beyond our ideas like capitalism, because there might be something better, right? And I don't think it's anything wrong with pushing the envelope in that, right? Now, again, I do have my problems with Jack Levin. For all I know, these guys could be right about Jack Levin, as far as just, pushing up fees that didn't really seem to benefit anybody, right? And they use terms like he's willing to do anything, right? Which kind of treads along the lines of these ideas like the Communist Manifesto and these dictators and totalitarian regimes that came in as liberators and out there to help the people, only to exploit the people and become tyrants to the people, right? And so that's the comparison being made by these guys, Jack Levin. Mostly, I believe, because they're part of Pulse and Hex community, and they didn't like the spotlight that went off of Hex and went on Zen. They didn't like how the Zen community drove up the fees on Pulse chain, etc. Right? These are the things they believe happened, right? As such, and perhaps somewhere in there is something to be concerned about, and there may be truth to that, right? But what I would say is that if those are the cases, and let's say these gentlemen are correct, it still wouldn't make 99.9% of the ideas of these cryptocurrency projects that they are in, right? The crap coins, as they call them. It still wouldn't make them conceptually better an idea than Zen, right? It still wouldn't. It still wouldn't make Zen any better conceptually to Bitcoin NYK, which came out before Zen, had the proof participation idea and model years before that. And also doesn't drive up fees, uses free chains, etc. Right? Uh, but even so, Zen is still a much more beneficial to the interests and the participants of an economy. When we're speaking of a participatory economy, which is always going to be the best, most democratic economy to people involved in them. As to say, the concept of Zen is still going to always be 10 times better than the post ecosystem and the hex ecosystem, right? All the post and hex ecosystem really is another top up, bottom down system, right? That can never be changed or augmented, really, right? And the great thing about cryptocurrency is we can experiment with the various systems that make it better. Unfortunately, people who don't study the economy and don't quite understand it, they compare they assume, I would say erroneously, that the crypto economy is comparably the same as the standard economy, but that's not true. Obviously, things go on and dynamics go on in the crypto economy that wouldn't be able to go on in the standard economy, right? Even in our project, when we talk about the citizens dividend, right, and we talk about these great projects that as we move into an age of abundance, and that's another thing, right? Many of these scenarios that's given in this video are based on 20th century views, technology. Well, we're in the 21st century now. What does that mean? That means that we're moving along to things like Chat GPT 4 and 5. We're moving on to points with 3D printers and where robotics and automation can change the entire labor market, right? The entire job market, to the point where even concepts like merit, to where people go out and they basically participate in these economies, right, where they're exploited through their jobs and workers and such. In a system where robotics replaces that, the same dynamics wouldn't exist that exists in 20th century economics, right? As to say, you wouldn't have the Stalins and Führers and Hitlers and Mao Zedongs and Pol Pots and all these people, right? All these dictators of the 20th century that in the Soviet Union that use these communist-like ideas that didn't work and were very destructive to the people, right? But we're talking about something totally different, right? We're talking about a world that is vastly different, and experimenting with better systems to help the most people is ideal. I think they have to put aside these very basic, rudimentary 20th century ideas that are no longer applicable. Even, these weird things we get when we talk about universal basic income, we actually get people, and it says dividend, we get people talking about the mark of the beast as such, right? And whatever a person's religion is, I don't have a problem with that. We live in a nation of freedom of religion, and some people principles hold fair to that. But but the problem, I think, is when you start to even say, oh, well, cryptocurrency is the mark of the beast and universal basic income is the mark of the beast, etc. These applications can be very problematic, because at one time credit cards were considered to be, when the credit cards were first coming out, they were saying it was the mark of the beast. And then they had the RFID chips, right? Remember those? They was going to implant the chip under your skin, and that was going to be the literal idea of the mark of the beast. And then in the time these scriptures and ideas were written, the people thought the mark of the beast would appear on them then. So they might have thought it could have been something like a tattoo or anything like that. But you see the problem in the comparison. I know a guy that I was telling cryptocurrency about who wouldn't get involved in cryptocurrency at all because he thought it was the mark of the beast, right? So here's what I'm saying, guys, right? These notions, right, and these comparisons of the cryptocurrency economy to certain philosophies, 20th century philosophies, certain practices that probably likely aren't applicable for many reasons, have to be carefully examined and watched, right? Uh, and that can only come through education, and we provide that on this channel. You know, we can tell you a million reasons why participatory economies are better. You can watch our last video about why we're posing the question of being rich is even moral, where we listen to people like Nick Hanauer, who talks about many of the errors in the misunderstandings of the application of certain economic systems and the confusion of what they are today, right? People don't even understand